A Pensacola family is searching for this woman, a missing mother of four. Kayla Atwood is her name, last seen nearly a week ago after she dropped off her children at a daycare center and she never returned home.
The children were dropped off at daycare on a Wednesday morning in January. That was the whole plan. A mother getting her 4 kids through the door before the rest of her day began. The oldest was 11. The youngest had just turned 1. She made sure they were settled. She made sure they were safe. And then she left. She never came back to pick them up. By that afternoon, the daycare had made the call. Nobody answered. They tried again. Still nothing. The calls went to family. The family tried every number they had. Her phone, her accounts, every way they knew to reach her. And here is what made the silence so alarming to everyone who loved her. Kayla Atwood was not a woman who went quiet. She was on social media every single day. Photos of her kids, videos of ordinary moments. A woman who shared her life openly and consistently, and who had posted a smiling video with all 4 of her children just 2 days before January 3rd. Now there was nothing. No post, no message, no reply. A phone that had stopped connecting completely. The family knew before anyone said it. This was not Kayla going off the radar. This was something else.
It's not like her at all to not pick up her children, and especially for her not to come home or call someone, say anything, not be on social media. She would not just leave her children. She has a very strong family connection. She has a sister, she has a mother that will help her, she has me.
What investigators would piece together in the days that followed started with the surveillance cameras, the phone records, and the accounts of the people Kayla had been in contact with on January 3rd. Some of those accounts were consistent, some were not. And there was a doorbell camera belonging to one of her neighbors that had recorded something that day. Something that someone had already visited twice, trying to make sure nobody would ever see. Every question the family was asking in those first days. Where did she go? Who was she with? Why had her phone gone dark? The evidence was already holding the answers. Investigators just had to follow it. Before we continue, this case involves the loss of a mother of 4. The details are real, and they carry weight. If you need a moment, take it. This is Lethal Obsession, the channel that doesn't move on until the full story has been told. If that's why you're here, subscribe. Her name was Kayla Atwood. She was 32 years old. She was a mother of 4. And on the morning of January 3rd, 2024, she dropped her children off at daycare in Pensacola, Florida. And somebody already knew she was not going to make it home.
Bob, Pensacola police shared a still image with us, and it shows the young mother beside a yellow moving truck. But her family says that only raises a bigger question. Why would a single mother of 4 leave her own kids?
Before the investigation, before the evidence, before January 3rd becomes what it became, you need to know who Kayla Atwood was. Kayla Atwood was 32 years old. She lived in Pensacola, Florida. A mother of 4, 11, 7, 3, and 1-year-old. 4 children at 4 different stages of life, all of them anchored to a woman who showed up for them every single day. She was active on social media, the way people are when their life is worth sharing. Smiling selfies, videos of ordinary moments with her kids. A running visual record of a woman who was present and fully invested in what she was building. 2 days before January 3rd, New Year's Day, 2024, she recorded a video with all 4 of her children. She was smiling. That video was shared publicly. It was the last documented image of Kayla with all 4 of her children before everything changed. The people closest to her were her mother, Linda Joyner, and her sister-in-law, Teresa Blue Atwood. When Kayla did not come back on January 3rd, Linda was the one who received the call from the daycare. She went and picked up her grandchildren herself, and like everyone who loved Kayla, she understood immediately that this had no ordinary explanation. Teresa Blue Atwood spoke publicly in the days that followed. Her words were direct. She described Kayla as a tough woman, someone who had been through real difficulty and had never once responded by disappearing. That was the specific thing Teresa said. Kayla had never run away. When asked whether the family believed she was in danger, Teresa answered without hesitation. She said, Honestly, yes, we do. This is highly unusual. She would not just leave her children. She has a very strong family connection. She has a sister and a mother who will help her. She has me. Linda Joyner said simply. She loves her kids and she knows a lot of people love her too. A woman with roots. A woman with people. A woman whose children were not something she walked away from. Not for a day. Not for an afternoon. Not for the length of time it takes a daycare to call a grandmother. Mikhail Fountain had been in Kayla's life as her boyfriend. Her family described him as her current partner, but they added a qualifier. It had only been a recent relationship. Fountain told investigators a different version. He said they had broken up approximately 1 week before January 3rd. The family said current. Fountain said already over. That was the first gap between what Fountain said and what the people closest to Kayla understood to be true. It would not be the last. One confirmed detail. Fountain was not the father of any of her 4 children. Confirmed publicly by Teresa Blue Atwood. His connection to Kayla existed through the relationship, and through the relationship alone. On the afternoon of January 3rd, 2024, 4 children sat in a daycare in Pensacola, waiting for their mother. The oldest was 11. The youngest had just turned 1. And the woman they were waiting for was not coming back. Every case like this one has a moment where the investigation stops being about a missing person and starts being about a specific individual. In the Kayla Atwood case, that moment came quickly, because of how one person behaved from the very first hours after she disappeared. That person was Mikhail Fountain. Fountain was 34 years old at the time of Kayla's disappearance. He lived in Pensacola, in the 300 block of North G Street. The relationship status discrepancy was present from day one, and it was not the only gap between what Fountain said and what the evidence showed. When Police Chief Eric Randall was asked publicly about motive, his answer was direct. We suspect probably jealousy. One word that sat at the center of everything this case became. Kayla had moved on. She was seeing other people. One of them was Antonio Elmores, a Penske truck driver she had met on a dating app just 2 days before her disappearance. Elmores would later be cleared completely. His account was consistent, his timeline corroborated by surveillance footage and phone records. But his presence in Kayla's life represented something the evidence suggests Fountain could not accept. She had moved forward. Without him. Now look at what the phone records showed. On January 3rd, the day Kayla disappeared, text records confirmed that Fountain and Kayla exchanged messages over a 3.5-hour period that morning. 3.5 hours of documented communication on the same day he later told police he never saw her. Then the messages stopped. Kayla's phone cut off just over an hour after their last exchange. Before it went dark, it was last tracked to the 400 block of North G Street, the area immediately surrounding Fountain's address. It has not connected since. When investigators spoke to Fountain, he denied seeing Kayla that day. Then they asked about the messages. He acknowledged they existed, and then he told police he had deleted every single one of them from his phone. His phone was seized. The arrest report described his conduct as odd behavior surrounding the investigation. And while the Penske truck was being examined at the Pensacola Police Department, before Fountain had been named publicly, officers observed him standing across the street watching. He had not been called. He simply appeared and watched. If Mikhail Fountain never saw Kayla Atwood on January 3rd, the phone records, the cell tracking, the deleted messages, and his presence across the street from the police department were already asking a question he had not prepared an answer for. Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024, began the way most mornings began for Kayla Atwood. She got her children ready. She made sure they got to daycare. She was seen on surveillance camera at the 2300 block of West Belmont Street, getting into a yellow Penske box truck with a white sign on the passenger side door. A normal morning. Nothing about it announced itself as anything other than what it appeared to be. The man behind the wheel was Antonio Elmores. Kayla had met him 2 days earlier, January 1st, through a dating app. For those 2 days, Elmores had been helping with the morning routine, dropping the children at daycare before running his delivery route with Kayla as his passenger. January 3rd was the second morning they had done this together. What nobody watching that footage knew, what investigators would only piece together afterward, is that someone else was already paying close attention to Kayla's morning. That same morning, Fountain drove to Kayla's neighbor's home in his white pickup truck and asked to see footage from their doorbell camera. He wanted to know what vehicle had picked Kayla up. He was monitoring her movements before she had even finished her morning. While Fountain was at the neighbor's house asking questions, Kayla and Elmores were still out on his route, and throughout the morning, phone records confirm Kayla and Fountain were in contact, exchanging messages over a 3.5-hour period that continued right up until the sequence of events that would define the rest of that day. At approximately 2:30 that afternoon, Elmores dropped Kayla off at her home on West Belmont Street. When he pulled up, Fountain was already there, physically present at her home at the moment she arrived. The man who would later tell police he never saw Kayla on January 3rd was standing at her door when she got out of that truck. 5 minutes after dropping her off, Elmores received a call from Kayla's phone. He answered. A male voice came through asking repeatedly, "Who is this?" before the line went dead. It was not Kayla.
Phone rang. I said, "Hello." It was a guy. And I just hung up. That was it. Did you hear it?
After that call, Kayla's phone tracked to the 400 block of North G Street, the area surrounding Fountain's address, and then went completely dark. Surveillance footage captured her getting into a pickup truck matching the description of one owned by Fountain. The truck drove east on Belmont Street.
That's good though, so at least we know a Penske truck. Yeah. She was possibly driving.
Yeah.
Kayla Atwood has not been seen since. At approximately 4:30 that afternoon, Fountain returned to the neighbor's house. This time he told them Kayla had been kidnapped and he was looking for clues. He asked to see the camera footage again. When police later gained access to those same files, a large number of recordings from January 3rd had been deleted. Sworn statements from the neighbors confirmed Fountain was the last person to view that footage before the deletions occurred.
Pensacola investigators say they recently found evidence from before she was even reported missing that Fountain had tampered with evidence, including deleting some of her security home footage.
That evening, family tried to reach Kayla. When they could not, they contacted Fountain directly. He told them he did not know where she was. Linda Joyner picked up her grandchildren from daycare. Kayla's 4 children went home without their mother. 2 days of silence followed. No phone activity, no social media, no contact with anyone who knew her. On January 5, 2024, Kayla Atwood was officially reported missing to the Pensacola Police Department. One detail from those 2 days stands on its own. Fountain had already told a neighbor that Kayla had been kidnapped on the afternoon of January 3rd itself, before her family filed any report, before any missing person case had been opened. He offered an explanation for her disappearance, before most people knew she was gone.
The first time he came to the front door telling about what was kind of going on. She's going to be kidnapped, the mom. Now that's what he told me. I don't know.
Nobody has even reported her missing yet.
Oh, okay.
It's suspicious. No one, she's not on her social media sites. We can't find her phone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If this documentary is giving you details about this case you have not found anywhere else, that is exactly what this channel is built to do. Lethal Obsession covers cases like this one with the depth and accuracy they deserve. Subscribe right now and turn on your notifications. What is coming next is how investigators built their case day by day, what the cadaver dogs found, and where Kayla's remains were located. Stay with us. By January 6th, 3 days after Kayla dropped her children at daycare, Pensacola police had gone public. They released a surveillance image showing Kayla beside the yellow Penske box truck on West Belmont Street and asked the public for help. The investigation was open, and the people who loved Kayla were in front of cameras making sure the city understood what was at stake. Linda Joyner and Teresa Blue Atwood spoke to Ware News. They described Kayla. They appealed to anyone with information. Their words were not uncertain. They were the words of people who already knew something had gone terribly wrong. Investigators moved on multiple fronts simultaneously. The Penske truck was seized and processed early in the investigation. Results came back negative for blood. The truck was forensically cleared. Antonio Elmores was interviewed, his account consistent with the physical evidence, corroborated by surveillance footage and phone records. Cleared completely. Not a suspect, a witness whose account held up to full scrutiny. While the truck was being processed at the Pensacola Police Department, something else was happening outside. Officers noticed Fountain standing across the street watching. He had not been summoned. He offered no stated reason for being there. He simply appeared and watched while investigators worked. Officers noted it. It went into the record. Fountain's phone had already been seized, following what the arrest report called odd behavior. On January 9, 2024, investigators had enough. Fountain was arrested and charged with tampering with evidence and destroying evidence. The specific conduct was documented: deleting surveillance footage from the neighbor's doorbell camera, deleting text messages between himself and Kayla, and providing a false police report by denying he had seen her on January 3rd. He was booked into Escambia County Jail on a $50,000 bond. The search for Kayla continued. On Thursday, January 11th, crime scene investigators searched Fountain's property on North G Street. That same day, Pensacola police deployed the Legacy K-9 unit, a nationally certified cadaver detection team. Police Chief Eric Randall later described what those dogs made possible. His words: "Instead of a wide area search, they were able to focus us in on a very specific area, which brought this to a conclusion a whole lot faster." At approximately 6:15 that evening, Fountain was released from Escambia County Jail after posting his bond. He went home to North G Street. Hours later, at approximately 11 o'clock Thursday night, investigators located Kayla's remains. She was found in a shallow grave in a wooded area near the intersection of Fairfield Drive and Crow Road, off Stowe Avenue, in Escambia County. The location was near the same daycare where she had dropped her two youngest children on the morning of January 3rd. She had started her last day there. She ended there too. At 2:10 in the morning, on Friday, January 12th, officers went to Fountain's home on North G Street and arrested him for the second time. The charges: homicide, battery, and resisting arrest. The homicide and battery charges were filed by the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, the resisting arrest charge by Pensacola Police. Fountain was transported to Escambia County Jail. This time there was no bond.
Fountain has been processed in the Escambia County Jail twice this week. On Tuesday night, Fountain faced charges of tampering with evidence after police determined he deleted surveillance footage and text messages related to Kayla Atwood's disappearance. Thursday, he bonded out. Overnight, Fountain was arrested again, this time for homicide, after the mother of four's remains were found in a shallow grave along Crow Road in Escambia County, just miles from where she was last seen at her home, getting into a vehicle that matched the description of Fountain's white pickup truck, according
With
to this
Fountain in
arrest
custody and Kayla's remains recovered, the case moved from the streets of Pensacola into the courtroom. The Office of the State Attorney formalized what investigators had spent 8 days building. Fountain was charged with second-degree murder, with a firearm, and tampering with evidence. The murder charge carried a potential sentence of up to life in prison. The tampering charge carried up to 5 additional years. Fountain remained in Escambia County Jail without bond while the process moved forward. For nearly 2 years, the case worked through pretrial hearings and motions in Escambia County. Through all of it, Fountain maintained his position, the same position he had taken from the moment investigators first spoke to him on January 3, 2024. On October 3, 2025, almost 2 years after Kayla's children waited at daycare for a mother who never came, Fountain appeared for his final pretrial hearing, the last opportunity for a plea agreement. No agreement was reached. The case was going to a jury. Jury selection began October 6, 2025. What the jury heard was the same case Pensacola police had assembled in January 2024, now under oath, in open court. Antonio L. Morris testified about January 3rd, the dating app, the morning drop-offs, dropping Kayla off at 2:30, the call 5 minutes later from her phone, the male voice asking "Who is this?" before the line went dead. His account was the same account he had given investigators 2 years earlier. Consistent, corroborated, unchanged. Kayla's neighbors testified about Fountain's 2 visits on January 3rd. The morning visit, arriving in his white pickup truck asking what vehicle had picked Kayla up. The afternoon return, claiming she had been kidnapped, asking to see the footage again, and the large number of files found deleted when police later accessed those same records. The jury heard the phone records, the 3.5-hour text exchange, Kayla's phone going dark an hour after their last message and tracking to the area surrounding Fountain's address before cutting off entirely. They heard about the surveillance footage showing her getting into a truck matching the description of Fountain's, driving east on Belmont Street. The cadaver dogs. The shallow grave near Fairfield Drive and Crow Road off Stowe Avenue. How close that location was to where Kayla had started her last morning. The deleted texts. The deleted footage, the false police report, the man who stood across the street from the police department, watching officers examine a truck he already knew had nothing to do with what he had done. In January 2026, the jury returned their verdict. Mikhail Fountain was convicted of second-degree murder. On February 10, 2026, the judge delivered the sentence: life without parole. The Pensacola Police Department released a statement. For 2 years, we have stood with the Atwood family as they have grieved the loss of Kayla. 2 years. From the morning the daycare called Linda Joyner, to the morning a judge sentenced Mikhail Fountain to spend the rest of his life in a Florida state prison. The legal case was closed. What happened on January 3, 2024, was now permanently on the record. What remained was the question no verdict fully answers. Not what happened. Not who was responsible, but who Kayla Atwood was, and what her absence leaves behind. On the morning of January 12, 2024, Police Chief Eric Randall stood before cameras and answered the question everyone had been asking. When asked about motive, he said, "We suspect probably jealousy, not a complex theory. Jealousy. Kayla had moved forward with her life. She had moved on from the relationship. And according to the chief who led the investigation into her death, that was enough." Pensacola Mayor D.C. Reeves also spoke that day. He acknowledged the tragedy and credited the department that had brought the case to a conclusion in 8 days. Teresa Blue Atwood spoke again after Fountain was charged. She thanked the community and the police. Her words, "I want to give thanks on behalf of the Atwood family. We appreciate all the tips that were sent in, and we give thanks to the Pensacola Police Department for bringing Kayla home. Then, it is going to hurt every day. But I prayed for an answer, and I prayed for her to come home. Not having that feeling of not knowing where she is. That piece has gone away. But I am always going to have that pain. I am always going to miss her." On the day Fountain was charged, Kayla's 4 children were surrounded by family. People who loved their mother and who loved them. They were not alone. Marcia Travis, program director at Favor House, Pensacola's domestic violence center, spoke about what this case reflects. Her words were precise. "I know sometimes people say, well, what did she do to make him so angry? I heard the word jealousy. We all have that emotion. But it does not give us the right to harm someone," she continued. "The abuser's #1 fear is losing power and control. Often these situations end when someone decides to walk away. And then this. When you are hurting the individual you are angry with, you are really affecting the community. The children went to school with other children. The teachers are affected. Everyone who knew her is affected. Kayla Atwood walked away from that relationship. She was building something without Mikhail Fountain in it. She was posting videos of her children on New Year's Day, going about her mornings, living forward. And on January 3, 2024, she dropped her 4 children at daycare in Pensacola, Florida, and made sure they got through the door safely before she went about the rest of her day. Her body was found near that same daycare, the place where she had started her last morning, the place where her children had been dropped off and were waiting to be picked up. That detail does not belong in the crime section of this story. It belongs here, because it says something about who Kayla was that no verdict and no sentence can change. She was a mother first. On the last morning of her life, she made sure her children were taken care of before anything else. Her name was Kayla Atwood. She was 32 years old. She was a mother of 4. She shared her life every single day. She never ran away. She loved her kids, and she knew a lot of people loved her too. Mikhail Fountain is serving life without parole in a Florida state prison. Her 4 children are growing up surrounded by a family that loved their mother. And Kayla Atwood deserves to be remembered as exactly who she was. Not only as a victim, but as the woman in that January 1st video, smiling with all 4 of her children at the start of what should have been a new year. Her name is Kayla Atwood. Say it correctly. If this documentary gave you the complete, verified story of Kayla Atwood that you could not find told this fully anywhere else, that is exactly what Lethal Obsession is built to do. Every case on this channel is researched to this standard. Every person at the center of these stories is treated with this level of accuracy and respect. Subscribe right now and turn on your notifications. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because what happened to Kayla Atwood is not unique to Pensacola, and it is not unique to 2024. This pattern exists everywhere, and the more people who understand what it looks like, the better the chance that the next story ends differently.